Hey everyone, this is the Love of Cinema podcast. We like to talk movies. If you like to talk movies too, you come to the right place.
And the more you see it, you of course know each and every dialogue and the story, but you seem to enjoy it almost that it has become like an anthem. That when you're in school, you're singing the national anthem, or you're singing your important songs or whatever you call it. Sholay is that to all of us. That it's become almost like an anthem for India, for Indians.
Ramesh Sippy's Sholay turns 50 this year. Most of us have probably lost count of the times we have watched the film. But one thing is certain, that each and every single time, the experience of watching Sholay has been nothing short of exhilarating. But what if I told you that unless you were lucky to catch the film during its original theatrical run in the cinemas, chances are you have watched a version, a print, that wasn't exactly the original thing. Especially if you have only watched Sholay via online streaming. Most of the online versions and many of the physical media prints are harrowing, to put it mildly. The aspect ratio is off, the audio has been butchered, the colors are off as well, and that's just a small offhand list of things wrong with the online versions floating out there. But now, very soon, all of us will be able to watch Sholay as it was intended by its creator, Ramesh Sippy, with the original audio, in its original aspect ratio, with its original ending, as well as the inclusion of a couple of deleted scenes. This is Himanshu, and you're listening to the Love of Cinema podcast. But before moving on, an important reminder. If you enjoy organic conversations centered on Indian cinema, Love of Cinema podcast was created for people just like you. So if you enjoy the pod, please do consider supporting the show. Love of Cinema podcast is my labor of love. And with every episode, I've attempted to create something that cinephiles will continue to find value, not just today, but over time as well. If you find value in the conversations on the pod, please do consider supporting the show. Your support will help me continue creating content with shelf life for fans of Indian cinema everywhere. You will find a link to support the show in the show notes. You can also support the show directly from the podcast website. It's fast, it's easy, and your support is greatly appreciated. I was delighted to host Film Heritage Foundation's Shivendra Singh Dungarpur for a chat on his foundation's multi-year effort to restore a film that all of us adore back to the director's original version. Starting with almost next to nothing and ending with a 4K print that will allow us to watch Sholay the way it was intended by Ramesh Sippy. Shivendra shared the fascinating story behind the restoration that spanned continents, lasted years, and was a deeply emotional experience for him as a lifelong fanboy of Sholay. Restoration of a classic with Shivendra Singh Dungarpur. Here goes. Hey Shivendra, how are you doing?
Well, all well, Himanshu. Just back from a screening. We just screened Vertigo at the Regal Cinema, where we have started regular screenings of films.
Right. I've been seeing the tweets, yes.
Yeah. And we've been getting over 1,000 people coming for these screenings. And we've got a great lineup. We've got James Dean, we've got Kubrick,
Wow.
we've got Antonioni, Godard,
Right.
Tati. So it's all through the year. Yeah. So
And all of these screenings are free, right?
Absolutely free.
Yeah, that's the best part of this. So it's accessible to everybody, right? You just need to get in
that's
line.
the idea. That's the idea, to make it accessible to the common man, that he doesn't feel. And it's also single screen theater. We've just had a change of this big screen, 70 screen, and a new projector there. So that's all been fitted in, and we're getting great, great crowd, and um, really the whole idea of having a cinematheque where people can watch a film freely and some of the best cinema from across the world.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So, Shivendra, 50th anniversary of Sholay is around the corner. You guys have done this wonderful restoration of the film, and you guys have worked with Ramesh Sippy and the crew, I believe. So, we are going to talk a lot more about that. But first, I just wanted to start it out by just talking about Sholay itself. I mean, this is a film that we all have grown up with. First of all, let me ask you, is this your number one Hindi film, top three, top five? Where does Sholay stand?
Well, it's difficult to define it as number one or number two or number three because Sholay is almost, I would call it, your consciousness in many ways. I mean, people who have loved cinema or grown, at least people from my generation or generations around me, Sholay has almost been part of our life, whether in terms of the film itself, the dialogues, the actors, the status. Uh, Sholay is what has made Indian cinema so enriching. You know, we knew Sholay before we knew anything else. So I always think of Sholay as the consciousness, not the subconsciousness, but the consciousness of one's cinema existence. And I recall the first time I wanted to watch Sholay. I was in Bhopal. My father was posted there, and Sholay had released in '75. I was 6 years old, and I still remember dressing up uh, almost in a maroon shorts and check shirt and belt and everything. I was a young kid of 6 years old, and I wasn't allowed. My mother finally, she got the news from people that it's very violent, it's got dacoits, and she came to my room and she said, "I'm sorry, I'm not allowing you to watch the film." And I kept crying. I kept crying. I kept crying, and I don't think I realized at the age of 6 the magnitude. I just wanted to watch a film, and this happened to be Sholay. But I remember it very distinctly because I wasn't allowed to watch a film, and I was crazy about films. So
Right.
that was my first experience of Sholay. Of course, subsequently, I did see it at a later stage. But I mean, who doesn't know the dialogues of Sholay or the story of Jain, Viru, Ramgarh, Gabbar? Uh, this is the film which almost all the character artists and even people who spoke one line or two words or a dialogue have become almost uh, like cult-like status. Uh, I don't think Mossy, the Hema Malini's Mossy and Mossy in the film, had become so famous as Leela Mishra. Or even if you think about Samba, who
Yeah,
just had a
absolutely.
role, who just had a role of sitting on top of that big rock mountain, kind of a rocky or a rock. He was sitting on top of the rock, and he just had a couple of dialogues, "Pure 50,000" and all that kind of stuff. He became so famous. Kalia became so famous. The character of Jagdeep became so famous. Asrani, the jailer, became so famous. I just think that there's not a single film where you have seen it almost 50 times uh, and you still can keep seeing it. And you sort of wonder and think, what is it in this film that engages you? Uh, it had, as a young kid, it had all the dialogues and of Gabbar, which were not really textbook. I mean, they were not really, you know, our parents used to say two things that it's quite, why is he using this filthy language? And the other thing they used to say is that go to sleep, Gabbar will come,
Right.
get you. So I think over time, even I wondered that when I was restoring this film, I must have seen it again so many times, but it engages with you. That is what is so terrific about this film. That even after 50 years, I didn't think of it as as a old film 50 years ago. I think it looks the same as I saw it 50 years ago. Yeah,
Yeah, it's one of those films that has an hallmark of a classic, right? Like no matter how many times you have seen that film, every time it's just as captivating. Every time it's
yeah.
just as hypnotizing. I was just watching this film this week, before our chat, and I watched it after a year or two. I think it was last time I watched Sholay. It was about a couple of years ago. But yeah, I mean, the film grabs you right from the opening scene and right from the opening background music. It's got everything. It's got everything.
Gabbar only comes after almost half an hour, 40 minutes of the film.
Yes, yes,
He's not there in the first 30, 40 minutes of the film. He comes in um, uh, very late, you know. He comes in when Jay and Viru have already moved into the village.
right.
And only when Sanjeev Kumar talks about his story, you really get to know about Gabbar. But you really see the side of Gabbar only when those three of them, including Kalia, uh, arrives back at the den and that scene where Gabbar is engaging kitne aadmi the and that iconic dialogues. So so that is something which I think is just amazing that that it is a film which makes you or draws you to see again and again. And the more you see it, you of course know each and every dialogue and the story, but you seem to enjoy it almost that it has become like an anthem. That when you're in school, you're singing the national anthem, or you're singing your you know important songs or whatever you call it. Sholay is that to all of us. That it's become almost like an anthem for India, for Indians.
Absolutely. And it's funny like how Sholay is a highly derivative film. It borrows from so many different classics and styles. But like so many Salim Javed films, which were often derivative, but all of it is done and weaved together so well that it completely like sweeps you off your feet. And that's the same thing in Sholay, right? I mean, just Thakur's family's massacre scene, right? I mean, we have seen that before in Once Upon a Time in the West, in The Searchers, but the one in Sholay will always be more near and dear to me, at least. It will be the most hypnotizing one for me, at least.
I mean, the fact that you can borrow or you can, Sergio Leone used to make, it's in the same territory as the great westerns of Sergio Leone or many other westerns which have inspired Sholay. But
Yes,
the fact is that still there is a language, there's the way the dialogues have been written, almost so original in many ways. And then, of course, you need a good director to be able to sort of weave that story, bring that emotion into it, and very fine actors to perform and to really bring uh, that kind of depth into the film, the way Sholay has brought with his characterizations of different characters and giving through dialogues each one of them a sense of their story, and you get to know them. You get to know Kalia. You get to know uh, Jid the jailer, like I said, Mossy, where she came from, or Hangal Saab, very well balanced between Sachin, the relationship between Sachin and Hangal Saab, or the Mukhya of the Gaon, or whether it's the horse Dhadno. Uh, even that Himaji has very very well characterized through her dialogues, or the relationship of Jaya Bachchan uh, through the whole film, uh, played so beautifully and so subtly, and almost so quiet by Mr. Bachchan. And then, this is one film um, where I just thought that the film is pretty loud, but there's one person who's not loud at all, and that's Mr. Bachchan.
Yes.
Uh, Amitabh Bachchan is perhaps played such an intense role in this film, so measured, so well through his looks. I mean, the look of when he sees Jaya Bachchan, or when he notices the whole house, the way he's dressed up. I mean, the whole styling, the coolness, the fact that the way he performed his death scene, like Dharamji said, the real star in the film was the coin, because the coin decided everything. So he told me on the phone, he said the real star in the film is the coin. So I just think that all of this, it's really truly, it's turning 50 years. It was released in Maratha Mandir on August 15th, and 50 years is going to come. And it's so great that this film is so relevant even today. And it is so much of enthusiasm among people to see the film. I remember last year I had a screening of a CinemaScope 35mm print at the week, and it was packed. Salim Javed came, Salim Saab and Javed Saab, both were there to introduce the film. But importantly, uh, it was such a great turnout. People wanted to see it on celluloid and on film. So whenever Sholay is released or it's been shown, it's drawn crowds. And that's mark of a great film, a historic film, and a film which has a recurring effect, that it never sort of dies out. It sort of it just keeps moving with time. And Sholay is time. Sholay is almost with us this time too.
And Shivendra, one thing that always boggles my mind is that Ramesh Sippy was 28 when he made Sholay. He was 32 when he made Shan, and but that's another film that I love a lot. But how crazy is that? And there is this anecdote of Ramesh Sippy. I'm sure that you would know about this, but just for the listeners, when Sholay was released, obviously it's a 70 film, and it was projected in 70 what happened was at that time the carbon rods in the projector arc lamps, they used to burn through faster than usual, which was a 35 film. I remember Ramesh Sippy mentioning in one of his interviews that he literally used to walk inside the projection rooms where Sholay was playing in cinemas to ensure that the carbon was replaced in time. Because if the carbon wasn't replaced in time, the arc lamps would dim and the screen would appear less brighter than normal, and it would screw up the whole experience. So all these things that he did back then, just to make sure that people were able to see the picture that, as close to the picture that he had made. It's
Well,
uh, it's it's just stunning.
yeah, all projectors at that time. See, Sholay was shot on 35mm. It wasn't shot on 70mm. No Indian film, the first film to be shot and blown up in 70mm is Around the World in 80 days. I think that's the first film.
Right.
Then, of course, Sholay, they did some tests, and the cameraman was Dwarka Devecha. And they went to Kamlakar Rao, who's still alive, who we took help from.
Right.
And he drew on the ground glass the 70mm aspect ratio. And they shot on 35, but they sent it to London to blow it up to 70mm. Now, there are various stories about it, but when this film was to be shown on 70 at Maratha Mandir, the prince didn't arrive in time, and they had to show the 35 Now, whether it's a 70 projector or a 35 projector, a dual projector, we can project both. Uh, in the case of Maratha Mandir, uh, all the projectors were operated through a carbon arc. That means the two rods facing each other shouldn't come closer and closer and closer. So it's like the light is burning well when the rods are still burning at the right, and that's the intensity of the brightness, and the film looks good. The more it starts burning and coming closer together, it starts dimming, and lot of filmmakers, and if Ramesh ji did that, it's amazing because that's the only way you could ensure that your film is seen correctly in those days.
Right.
Because that was the job of actually a projectionist.
Projectionist, right.
And that is why the intensity of a projectionist to see projecting a film was very intense that time. He couldn't just start the film like how they do today and walk out because everything is digital. It doesn't take too much of time for anyone, people who are used to computers or anything, to learn projection today. It's not that manual. It's all automated. You just put it on and it just goes. But in those days, you had to be absolutely precise.
Yeah.
So I'm sure anyone who's made Sholay or a film like Sholay would be at the projection booth, checking every point of it to make sure that it's gone over with.
You mentioned Kamlakar Rao. Of course, Kamlakar Rao is a legendary cinematographer who shot many of Subhash Kai's hits, I believe. Was he on the Sholay crew as well? Was he associated with Sholay?
He wasn't on the set.
Okay.
But he did the aspect ratio. That means the ground glass.
Okay.
So before they went to shoot, they got a ground glass made, which is how to frame the shot. And he did the markings and gave it to them, and that's how we restored the film too, because we wanted to know the exact aspect ratio of the 70 and there was no 70 print surviving. There was
right. I read about that. Yes.
So we didn't know how to match it to what.
Right.
So we went to the person who actually did the original 70 and that helped us to come to what it would have been at that time to today, what we're going to release Sholay with is the 70
So there is no 70 film remaining.
Well,
there is no original negative. So how are you going about it?
Yeah. So there was no original camera negative. There was no dupe negative. Can you believe that such an important and big film, there was nothing surviving on this? It is the most heartbreaking news. And I want to talk
Shivendra,
about...
could you just take a minute to briefly explain what those terms mean for the listeners?
Yeah. So Himanshu, I want to just rewind back to how the restoration story began and also explain what each of these elements mean. It was COVID when Rohan Sippy and Ramesh Sippy did a Zoom call with me. Rohan Sippy is Ramesh Sippy's son, and Rohan has made several films. And at that point, they talked about looking for the original camera negative. They didn't know where it was. They had been away from the whole Sholay experience because there was a 3D release little while before of Sholay. And what the earlier people had done to Sholay was quite heartbreaking. And I don't
Yeah.
know what. One is of course that they converted into 3D,
Yeah.
but itself is sacrilege because if the filmmaker is not involved in it, it is sacrilege. And the other thing was that they uh, they sort of enhanced the colors. And the worst thing was that they removed the R.D. Burman's background score.
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
And what they
That
did
cut is
was
unwatchable. That cut is. I
yeah,
mean, I hate to say it, but
yeah.
because
I
there are a
mean,
lot
can
of
you imagine
people who worked on it, but it's just not
such a
right.
big film and you remove R.D. Burman's entire background score to just keep his tunes and songs, but you get a remix done, and then you think that you're catering to a younger audience, and they would not be willing to hear R.D. Burman, but a new interpretation of R.D. Burman's tracks. I think it was sacrilege. And I happened to go to see it, and I just couldn't see it. The moment I saw the film, I said, "This is not Sholay," because Sholay, as I said, is in our consciousness. We know what Sholay. I mean, that you just need to be for a minute in a theater to know what the original Sholay is. And so when they said that they can't find the original negative, I didn't know where to start from. Manshu. Over the period of time, we have found, I remember when Mansoor was celebrating 25 years of Kamat Se Kyamat Tak, there was a print required, and we did find it somewhere, the print. Marches was another instance where we found. So we've got these almost like these spies all over in Mumbai and other parts of the country, where we, through our chain of people, we tell them to find these prints or negatives or whatever we can find, and that's how we try and discover material or work on different material because you need the silver scavengers. That means all the early films had a lot of silver content, and they used to remove silver from the film and and earn money. So if a film, after a while, if the print is not required, especially black and white films, they would sell the film to a silver guy who would remove silver from the film uh, and throw away the rest of the material, but had the silver. So there was always a lookout for some rare prints or rare materials or excess materials, and Sholay was perhaps a victim of color dyes or whatever it was. But there was no news where the original negative was. Then they introduced me to, then Ramesh Sippy introduced me to his nephew, Shazad Sippy. Shazad Sippy had just come in from the US. He was his brother's son, and he took over the Sippy empire, Sippy Films, and he had bought the company, and there were a lot of changes in the Sippy Films. And then I met him, and we started searching everywhere for negative. And of course, one of the spaces was where the previous owners could have kept the material. Now, we found materials of Sholay in a sack, almost body sack, just thrown away. It was too late. We opened the cans. Ramesh Sippy came to my office with Rohan Sippy. Rohan Sippy brought Ramesh Sippy to my office. And when we opened the cans, it was in a very bad state, the original negative. But there was no other material which we could lay our hands on, apart from some interpositive. Now, let me explain what the original camera negative is. Original camera negative is the most important element for the restoration of a film. It is the original camera negative. That means it's the negative from the camera. It comes directly from the camera. So it's the first generation. It's like the mother. And unless you have that, the restoration cannot be of that superior quality. In this case, there was no original camera negative. Then there is a dupe, means there's another copy of the negative, dupe. That also was not there. In most cases, there is always a dupe or a master positive or even a print. Now, here we had prints, and a print means what you play in the theater.
Okay.
Print is the positive print. And there were prints, but like I said, we had just screened a CinemaScope print. But we didn't have any 70 print. We didn't know, unless you have a 70 print, you will not know how the film was released and what it was. So we were almost absolutely heartbroken. And we said, where do we start when there is no material? And the only material floating around on YouTube and everything was this enhanced, not the original version of Sholay.
Right.
Which people see it on YouTube and think that they're watching Sholay. But it's not Sholay. It's not the original version. So we started thinking what to do. We found an interpositive, which is what was used for all your opticals, like fade in, fade out, titles, all that kind of thing. But the whole film was like that. And then Shahzad said, actually, it was Ramesh Sippy who said that there would be some material because, it had gone to blow up from 35 to 70. Then we should look at London. So we started talking to our partners, the British Film Institute, which has been very close to us. And we said, could you help us? And the material, Shahzad tracked it to the Iron Mountain, which is what storage house. They do storages. And when the labs shut in London, Technicolor and thing, they had transported these films to the Iron Mountain storage facility. And the BFI picked up this material and sent it to Bologna. And we discovered a color reversal intermediate, means CRI. And when we were seeing that material, we suddenly discovered the original ending. The ending which Gabbar dies.
Yes.
Where Steve Kumar kills. Now,
Kills him.
People who do not know that the original version was the version which Ramesh Sippy wanted, was that when Dharmendra catches hold of Gabbar, he hands him over to Sanjeev Kumar Thakur. And then Thakur takes his revenge, which is what the whole crux of the film is, that you must take your revenge. And he kills him. But it was 1975, the time of censor. They thought it was too gruesome. And they made him change the end to the cop arriving, which was Om Shivpuri arriving. And that's the version which was released. In fact, when that was happening in 75, Ramesh Sippy refused to give his name. He told his father, GP Sippy, that I don't agree with this edit. The original edit has to go, otherwise I resign. How can a film be so weak in the end? And of course, with this scene, with this edition of this scene, we got so excited, we found two other scenes, which is one is Sachin's death. And the other is when he's putting nails onto his jutis, preparing for the big kill.
Oh, wow. That must be something. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's Satyan Kapoor, who's played, who plays the role of being with Thakur.
Ramu Kaka, yes.
Ramu Kaka. Yeah, very famous Ramu Kaka is the one who's hammering that nail onto it. So now the version, which is 3 hours, 24 minutes, is with this. But Himanshu, it's a miracle. It's absolutely a miracle that we worked relentlessly for many years. And we continue to work, even though the film premiered in Bologna, we continue to work for Toronto, which is in September, and then subsequently in New York Film Festival, then at the BFI London. And then I'm sure the producers will be planning their release, the big worldwide release of Sholay. But what is miracle is that from nothing we had, it was almost gone, everything. We've been able to bring back Sholay absolutely the way Ramesh Sippy had had his vision, the way he wanted his edit to be, the way he wanted his film to be, it will be shown exactly that. It's a wish which he had 50 years later. You're going to see the vision of Ramesh Sippy.
So, Shivendra, during the process, like how closely was Mr. Sippy working on this? Like, how, could you like give us a couple of examples as to what advice he gave, or what his consultation was during the actual restoration?
Well, well, I mean, it's still going on in that sense. If you look at it, well, Ramesh Sippy was began the process. Let me call it this way. It was Rohan Sippy and Ramesh Sippy who came to me initially, and then introduced me to Shazad Sippy. And then, when we found these scenes, it was he who was very keen that this version should be prepared because this was his original version, and the original version should be shown to the public, and not the one with the police coming in late. So we began that journey, and then of course Rohan Sippy was involved, his son. Um, but by and large, we had very important references, Himanshu. We had a CinemaScope print. We had the sound. Now, what happened in the sound is something interesting. We found the original sound, what is called the magnetic tracks.
Oh, wow.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, we found
That's
it at the
awesome. The original
SIPI
ones.
office.
Okay.
The original. It was lying at the SIPI office. So that helped us to bring back the entire track of R.D. Burman. And it was incredible because when I listened to the footsteps of Gabbar on that rock with the bell hitting, I still remember I was at the sound studio in Bologna. I couldn't believe the incredible sound quality that had and what the 3D version has happened. Because every time he's walking, the Gabbar is walking on the rock, you can just see the slide of the belt. You can hear that. And every bit of the sound, whether it was the coin falling or its small touches, was so incredible. And I was so upset that they had the audacity, or they had this kind of you know thought process that they could remove the track of a great uh, musician or a great music director like R.D. Burman, and in that process even affect the soundtrack and the sound design of the whole film. And we are very happy that we were able to bring back the original track and bring back, so that's the greatest joy, Himanshu, that what makes us so happy about our work as restorers, or I would say it stems from all about making films, but is that if Ramesh Sippy's vision is captured back into this film, the way he had conceived it, thought of it, and that is shown back 50 years later, then that's a success. We are very proud of what we were able to achieve. A film which almost nothing was surviving is today back ready for the big theaters.
And I'm guessing that this must have been a deeply, emotional experience for you when you watched the first
Oh yeah, I mean,
run, you know.
I was when I was grading, before the lines would finish, I could say the other lines, and they were all foreigners working with me, and they were amused what this film meant for them. But the very interesting story on this is, and what Sholay means to people. This was in Bologna at the lab. The grader, he went swimming with his son in a local swimming pool in Bologna, and his son was friendly with somebody who belonged to the Asian community. I mean, it wasn't just India, but it could have been anybody from Asia. And he just took, the son's father was there, and he said, "What are you working on?" And he said, "There's this Indian film called Sholay." And he said that man really jumped up, and he said, "Sholay, my God, what is Sholay doing in Bologna?" And then the very next day, he had about 15, 20 Indians arrive at the lab. saying that, I believe you're working on Sholay. We want to see it now. And what is really happening. They didn't know that it was a lab or what they were doing with the film, but you just see what it did to people when they heard Sholay was there. And
The emotion it evokes in
emotion.
everybody.
In fact, one of the curators, Ehsan, at the Bologna Festival, at the Il Cinema Ritrovato Festival, uh, told me that if Ramesh Sippy is coming, can I get a photograph taken? I'm from Iran, and it would mean a great deal for me if I'm able to show this photograph uh, of me with Ramesh Sippy in Iran. It will bring my status up. And that just shows that Sholay is not just popular or not just a cult film within India or Asia. It almost spreads over even to Africa and parts and the Middle East and even Iran. It's just an amazing sort of uh, it's just amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, the cultural impact that this film has, it's tremendous. And Shivendra, so now let's say somebody like me, who's watching this restoration for the first time. Can you cite a few examples or of scenes from the film where the restoration really comes through in terms of the cinematic experience?
If you're talking in terms of if you're talking in terms of really the beauty and that, I mean, really the first train sequence, the first chase,
Action
where Jay
sequence,
and
right?
V, uh, where Sanjeev Kumar gets shot, and that whole sequence of the train is just remarkable, remarkable. I mean, we had to work a lot with the grain structure, uh, the grading, and also we were working on IP, like I said, interpositive. So we had to get a balance of colors, and there was a lot of work on it, but it was great fun to do it. I mean, see, uh, every Sholay, every part it was or uh, is so beautiful and so majestic in many ways that it was challenging. When of course you go to Ramgarh or Gabbar's Den or all that, it's purely looks like a Western film, and we had amazing time restoring that part. Yeah, I think the whole film.
I'm sure, with every restoration, you and your team are somewhere discovering something new, learning something new as you go along. What were some of the things that you learned or discovered with this particular restoration?
No, I think the most important learning is when you work with such uh, terrible material or you work with no material. That itself is a discovery. That how are you? You don't know the end. This always this question was. I think even Shazad had that question. Will it happen? Will this really happen now? Because we don't have a material. How are we going to proceed? What are we going to do? It's almost a discovery. You are threading to that image which you have as a child of Sholay. Uh, the fact that you have that image of what that color looks like of Dharmendra on top of Amitabh Bachchan singing that famous song with the mouth organ. And you know the colors, you know everything. And I'll tell you a story. There was a film called The Leopard of Visconti. Martin Scorsese was restoring that film. So every time they would bring it to him, he would say, the roses are not this red. I remember the roses as a kid when I saw the film. This is how it was. Until he got that right, he didn't okay the shot. I think with Sholay, I did exactly the same. Till I was not okay more than Ramesh Sippy and anyone else. I knew each and every frame of what Sholay was. It was in my consciousness, the image of Sholay. And that is why I think it's been the most exciting restoration. You're asking me the experience we gain because it's unknown to us. We don't know what we're going to achieve. Because when you have a material, you know you can deal with it, or it's like a patient. You know the wound, you know how to heal that patient. But when you don't have anything in front of you, you have such bad material. You times don't know whether that patient is going to survive. Can I make him survive and live the way he should be living, uh, like a healthy human being? Can I do that? That you don't know, but you certainly know that the image you have of how he should be healthy and I think that belief makes you come as close to the reality of that film. And Sholay was that experience for me. It was the most exciting experience. I was never this grown up working on Sholay. I was always the child with that image of all those images, uh, which made me so special, made me excited, made me wanting to finish. And every screening I've seen from top to bottom, it didn't matter. I didn't want to miss anything.
And let me ask you this, Shivendra. Now, when you guys, screened this at Bologna, what was the kind of reaction from the young people there, who were
My
probably watching
God, that
this film
was,
for the first time?
you know, when we screened the film in Bologna at the Piazza, um, it was just an amazing experience. Uh, Almost over 2,000 people, Italians, mostly Italians and Europeans and Americans and people from across the world. Very few Asians, I would say. Indians, very few. But mostly it was, you know, uh, Italians. And the fact that we started the film at 10:30, almost 10:30, and it went on till 1:30, uh, and not a single person got up and left. And there was cheers. There was. I mean, you have to be in that euphoria, that feeling at the piazza. That what an incredible feeling it was watching the film with all of them, with that kind of crowd who had probably many of them had never seen Sholay. It was the land of Sergio Leone. People were familiar with Sergio Leone's films, and this would have looked very close to the great westerns of Leone.
Right.
But I think people loved it, enjoyed it. The fact that so many people stayed back and saw the film till 1:30 and got up only that with cheers and applause and oh yeah, what I think Shazad Sippy, whenever he meets me, he says he'll never forget the experience of the screening of the film in Bologna at the Piazza. They'd open outdoor screening of Shoni. And those wonderful images which remain in the hearts and minds of people. That's an incredible feeling.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I saw some of the pictures that you put on social of the screening.
Yeah.
And finally, Shivendra, what other films are currently under the process of restoration at Heritage Foundation?
Well, Himanshu, we're working on several restorations.
Right.
We're working on in which Annie gives it to those ones with Pradeep
Okay.
Kishan and Arundhati
Yeah.
Roy. There's Amma Aryan, John Abrams.
Yeah.
There is Pakiza,
Okay.
Humayun
Wow.
Movies
Okay.
Pakiza,
That's a big one.
which is a very big film. Yeah, that's a very big one. Working on that. We worked on Vinod Chopra's Khamosh and Sazae Maut
Lovely.
and Parinda.
Okay.
Yeah. Then of course we have Dave Benegal's English August.
Okay. Nice.
So there are many films. I mean,
Okay.
yeah. So there are many films. We've got a lot of things happening. We've got a center coming up in Ballet Pier which is going to be a full-fledged archive now. We
Okay.
should open it by October, November, with a library and a conservation center. And now we are showing films at the Regal. So Regal has become really a hub for
Yes.
classic cinema for Film Heritage Foundation. So yeah, we've got lots of things happening. So that's our story.
That's great. That's great. Well, Shivendra, thank you so much. This was great to hear the story behind this beautiful restoration that you have done. And all of us are looking forward to, watching this restoration.
Thank you very much, Himanshu. Great talking to you, and always lovely getting to know things, what's happening around at the Bay Area. And I hope we can bring Indian cinema to San Francisco. We just did it. We had a whole retro, it was called Emotion in Color at the Academy in LA. And we're doing something in Boston later part of this year. But we hope to bring something to San Francisco. But thank you very much for talking as always. And Sholay, 50 years. I hope you get to see it. And we can chat after you see the film again and see the
Definitely.
restoration and let
I
me
would
know
love
what you
to.
feel about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much, Shivendra. If you liked the episode, do spread the word on social media. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to your pods. Also, please do drop us a review when you get a chance. You can follow me on Twitter and Insta at loveofcinemasf8. You can reach me by email with your suggestions and comments, and you will find the email ID in the show notes. That's the episode. This is Himanshu, signing off, and like always, thank you for listening to the Love of Cinema podcast.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.